We are in this limbo land. Everyone's lives on hold. We are suffering because we think it's the right thing to do. An awful lot of us, I think, are coming to the realization the government don't know what they're doing. But we are so afraid that we're torn between desperately wanting to believe in the government and hoping that they're right. If we acknowledge to ourselves that they're actually wrong, what on earth do I as an individual do about it?
Also, this deaths number that is thrown at us that's not qualified, and our mainstream media sees on this, they get us enraged and in fear, and then our government uses it to put these ridiculous draconian policies.
We've never ever before had an episode in history where testing regimes like this took place, where daily deaths were announced. You've made the entire country hypochondriac. They are hypnotized by fear and an obsession with death and a single disease. Even on a day when hundreds might die from COVID, there are still going to probably be more deaths from heart disease and cancer. I think planning for the future when this horror is over is one way of retaining a sense of optimism. And this will end. We will come out the other side. I think battered and bruised, but for the vast, vast, vast majority of us still alive, for most of us with our health. And I guess we have to be grateful for that, and we have to push on and not give up.
The world is changing. Inspiration is everywhere. It has never been so easy to connect, share, and bring people together. We're learning from others and finding the best in ourselves. Challenging our beliefs. Sharing our vulnerability. Overcoming our fears. Transforming ourselves so we can transform the world. How far can we go?
This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is...
This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is Luke Johnson, the British entrepreneur, business advisor, and newspaper columnist. You are the chairman of the private equity group Risk Capital Partners and are part owner and chairman of Gale's Artisan Bakery and Feng Sushi. You are also the former chairman of Channel 4, the Royal Society of Arts, and the Pizza Express restaurant chain. You write a weekly column for the Sunday Times focusing in recent months on the economic devastation caused by the unproven lockdown measures. You have highlighted the collateral damage to our social, physical, and mental health and the need for alternative solutions. Luke, welcome to London Real.
Morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for being here. You know, I read a really prescient quote from you where you said, quote, "The economy is us. You cannot divorce the two, and there is a trade-off." And I'm wondering if maybe you can comment on that, because it seems to me that the government has kind of sold us this choice. It's save lives or you can have the economy, when in fact, not only, I believe, can you have both, but you almost need both. You can't divorce one from the other. And I want to get your thoughts on that. Because I think a lot of times people can't see the economic damage, but of course we're shown the statistics and deaths every day. Just want to get your thoughts on that.
Well, of course, there is always a cost-benefit analysis to be done of any major intervention in society, and have almost never been such a massive intervention as lockdowns that we are experiencing right now. And the harms, the total harms that those are doing, I believe, almost certainly massively outweigh the benefits in terms of possible lives saved from COVID. Unfortunately, the government has never done, as far as I've seen, a serious, proper analysis of that, the cost of lockdowns relative to the benefits. So it's really tough for us as citizens, business leaders and whoever we are, to believe that they know what they're doing and that it's the right choice they've made. I think that the reason why lockdowns are so devastating is that they isolate us all. They take away our civil liberties. They mean almost certainly that people are not receiving the diagnoses and treatments in health terms that they should for serious ailments like cancer and heart disease. They are obviously disrupting businesses and employment in a massive way. And recessions and unemployment, for example, it's known can cause terrible health outcomes for those who are depressed or anxious. I think the government's propaganda as regards the dangers and risks of COVID have frightened the country, frankly, out of its senses. And our passivity in the face of these draconian measures has, I think, been one of the more distressing aspects of this whole episode, that we have not cherished our freedoms and our rights as much as we should have, so that we can't meet with people we would like to, we can't go and earn a living, practice our trades, and the accumulated damage to our mental health and to the economy and to physical health is really extraordinary. And, if you look at it in very simplistic terms, the reason why the first lockdown was launched was to protect the NHS. The NHS costs at least £140 billion a year. And in a year like this, it's probably 200 billion all in, if you include all the COVID measures. How are we to pay for that? And that is a fundamental truth about all this. If the economy, Bank of England say the economy will shrink in Britain this year by about 11%, that will be the worst recession in history, full stop. And almost certainly a worse recession downturn than virtually any other comparable economy except perhaps Spain. And that itself tells us that the government have not done things wisely. In fact, we're so much worse off than other countries. And by the way, it's not as if we've preserved more lives, because the death toll has been high relatively in this country from COVID. So we are in quite a mess. And I get very disappointed that people like me, who have been, in my modest way, speaking out since April as regards the collateral damage and demanding, a proper balanced conversation, we're all dismissed as extremists. We are not taken seriously. And people get angry towards us. And yet, society only advances, we only improve things through proper debate and discussion, through challenge and thinking about things hard, not having a single tunnel vision, a monomania on a specific disease with no consideration of the implications for all other aspects of society.
Luke, have you been surprised by the outright censorship that you've seen this year when people tried to talk about this? Because, I've been broadcasting for 9 years, but it wasn't until April 6th of this year when I had a guest on that started asking some of these similar questions, are we doing the right things, that I started being massively censored on my social platforms just by having a conversation. And I never thought that would ever happen to me. And now even the Labour Party in this country is now saying they want to go further and stop certain discussions. Is that always a dangerous thing, not to have a healthy debate?
I think it certainly is. And I'm afraid that politicians and civil servants and even scientists, it appears, and regulators bluntly get drunk on power. The fact that we have been so law-abiding as a nation has encouraged them to push ever further their demands. And now they're telling us whether we might or might not be allowed to meet with our families on Christmas Day for lunch, because they know what's best for us. And unfortunately, what they do is they label anyone who doesn't adhere to the official orthodox narrative as an extremist, as an anti-vaxxer. I'm married to a pharmacist. I'm chairman of a very substantial medical charity which employs 900 scientists discovering drugs. It's been around for over a century. I actually studied physiology at Oxford University, admittedly many years ago. I've owned various healthcare businesses. So I'm not a total amateur in this. I'm very pro-vaccines, as it happens. And I'm probably pro the vaccines that are coming to deal with COVID-19. But I'm afraid that those who are so wedded to the official narrative, the way in which some of them, and some of them in powerful positions, are advancing their argument is to damn any opposition or any contrarian voice with shutting down debate. I think it's been a disgrace, for example, the way in which the government introduced new rules at Ofcom in, I think, April or May, which meant that the mainstream broadcasters, BBC, ITV, Sky, etc., the main news channels, are extremely averse and frightened of any dissenting voices. And this is not appropriate for a democracy. This isn't how science advances. And given the mistakes that we all know the government and the official bodies like Public Health England, which, by the way, they've dismissed the chief executive and they are completely restructuring since this chaos erupted. We all know that, test and trace has not worked even to a fraction of what it was meant to, that there has been serious fraud and corruption in the procurement of PPE and other programs introduced in a hurry by the government, that the early projections by Neil Ferguson and Imperial of the deaths from COVID have proved ludicrous over projections. There are multiple errors and mistakes that the government and the officials have made. So the idea that we would have to, without any question or any serious argument or contrarian view, adhere to every single new regulation. There have been over 200 new regulations put out since March, more than ever in our history during a similar period. A lot of the officials don't even know what the rules are, whether they're a law or guidance or all the rest of it. It's chaos. And the idea that anyone questioning this is an extremist is itself outrageous. I'm very pleased to say that the COVID reform group, who are a dissenting set of conservative politicians, are now at last, 6 months late, I would argue, starting to voice questions and demands of government. And it's most unfortunate the Labour Party, who, as you say, are trying to make it illegal now to even question the efficacy, for example, of a vaccine. So they're not proper opposition at the moment. So democracy is failing us this year. And I am pleased to see that this group of Conservatives led by Steve Baker are now starting to hold the government to account, which is actually what the opposition should normally do.
Yeah, and we saw some of those Tory backbenchers question this latest lockdown, question the Cambridge study that was also, sanctioned by Public Health England, and call out the data that in real time was not even correcting the correct results by a factor of 4. And yet we still moved to lockdown, and yet we're still in lockdown, that most people would agree is based on extremely flawed data. That's hard to believe sometimes, that we're actually still in this situation.
It is, I'm afraid, yes. And, one has to seriously doubt the competence of the leadership, I'm afraid. You look at Matt Hancock, our Minister of Health, he has no health or scientific qualifications whatsoever. Indeed, none of the 6 health ministers we have in this country. The only one of the 6 who has any vague medical qualifications or expertise is Nadine Dorries, who I believe was once a nurse. That's it for all 6. He said this week in an interview, I think I'm right in saying that the virus poses a potent threat to everyone. That is an out-and-out lie. The one indelible truth of this virus that is undeniable, and I think one of the problems with the scientific community and with society as a whole with this virus is that so much we don't know still, and the scientists are struggling to get to grips with that, because they're really not able to tell us definitively an awful lot of the answers that we want.
To continue watching the rest of the episode for free, visit our website londonreal.tv or click the link in the description below.